What is up, everybody? Welcome to another Sunday edition of MLB Crunch Time here on RotoGrinders. Happy to be with you, breaking down another Major League Baseball slate here. We've got a pretty interesting, maybe skewed towards offense type of slate today. We'll break that down for you here over the next 45 minutes or so as we get close to lock. I am Justin Van Zuden, STL Cardinals 84. Joined as usual here on Sundays, we've got TJ Zwarich on one side. TJ, how's your weekend going?
Weekend's going very well. It's been super busy, but we had San Diego Comic-Con that just released a whole bunch of news that we're covering on Agents of Fandom. Robert Downey Jr. is coming back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but not as Iron Man, as Doctor Doom. Plus Deadpool and Wolverine, and then I've been Steve all week, and the baby's been busy, so it's been busy. I'm tired, but I'm good.
Yeah, sounds like an action-packed weekend for sure, but always nice when there's a lot going on. The daily fantasy world's about to get pretty busy as well when we get back into football. So going to be that time of year where we got Taylor Smith alongside today as well. Taylor, how you doing?
Doing well.
As Taylor talks, just a quick heads up, Cards. You went robo mode again if you want to bounce in and bounce out.
All right, hopping
once
out.
per show.
Anyway, I'm just kind of watching some USA basketball in the background against Jokic and friends. But yeah, kind of an interesting slate. I feel like I'm taking some kind of different stands than the ownership indicates. So excited to get into it.
It's a day that I'm really excited for some home run bets. There's a lot of cheap, good odds guys and some good lineup spots today. And so I'm looking forward to getting some Spidey bombs out there. Make sure you're smashing the like button. We'll drop them every 50 likes. So make sure you're clicking the like button here for us. We're already at 33. I got lots and lots of Spidey bombs ready to drop for the people today. Welcome back, Cards.
How's Robot gone?
Totally gone.
All right. Not sure why that happens. Don't know if it has to do with like something else that I have open along with that, but who knows? Usually happens once. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. I will get the lineup HQ screen share back up, and we'll get ready to start breaking down this slate for you. Of course, we'll take questions at the end of the show. The best way to do that is in the RotoGrinders Discord. You can get in there. Just need to be a RotoGrinders member. Don't even need to be a premium subscriber. So you can get in there, rotogrinders.com/Discord. We will prioritize the questions in the Discord chat, and we are in the live stream chat channel of the Discord if you're familiar. So, all right, let's get into the slate today. It's definitely a slate that is more skewed towards bats, as TJ mentioned, with liking a lot of home run picks. Not as much to like for pitching. So, Taylor, I'll throw this to you first. What are you looking at as far as pitching today?
Yeah, so we have a couple of guys at the top. Cole Reagans, Garrett Crochet. Crochet is more expensive. He's also facing those leash concerns that we've had the last couple times he's gone out. I think he threw 87 pitches in this last game in like 4 innings. So there's really no telling what they'll do. The trade deadline's in a few days. He may or may not go. I'm playing him a little bit more in tournaments. I don't think I'd play him in cash, given his salary, but the matchup against Seattle's good. So even a limited version of Crochet he can kind of get you there. But for the dollar, it's not the easiest path. So I do have a lot more Reagans. He's my highest owned pitcher by quite a bit. I have him in about 3/4 of my lineups, which is not super comfortable to be that heavily invested in one guy, but he's, with Crochet, it's kind of the SP1B, I guess. But for me, given his lack of leash, he's the guy I'm getting to the most. Beyond that, I think the chalk SP2 is probably going to be Bailey Ober against Detroit. I have no problem with that. He's pretty affordable. Still gets you some bats you want to pay for along with Reagan. So I think he's fine. Bryce Miller against the White Sox, great matchup. Even with a park downgrade, I think he's okay. I'm not getting to him much at all, which is a bit scary, but just kind of is what it is. With my SP2, I'm paying down for the most part. Spencer Arrighetti is the one I have the most of at 7K on DK against a very watered down Dodger team without Freeman, Mookie, Muncy, and Will Smith all out of the lineup today. Obviously, dealing with Ohtani is its own challenge, but the lineup is really watered down. It's very high strikeout, and he's cheap, and he's decently talented. As long as he doesn't walk everybody, I think he'll be okay. And I'm also playing an uncomfortable amount of Joey Cantillo on DK because he's 4K flat. He was a very high strikeout guy in the minors. He's another guy with some walk issues. I think this is his major league debut against the Phillies, so pretty rough spot, but he's 4K, and that's really the only reason I would play him. If he gets me 8 to 10 points, I'm thrilled. Anything more than that is kind of icing on the cake. So in tournaments, I think Cantillo is playable on DK just because of the salary.
All right, TJ, what are your thoughts at pitcher today?
Yeah, I'm playing 150 lineups, but I'm keeping a very tight pool with pitchers. I only have 5 in my pool today. Garrett Crochet, Cole Reagans, Bailey Ober, Tobias Myers, Joey Cantillo at 4K. That's literally it, and I don't think I'd consider anybody else anywhere else. Reagans is definitely my favorite. He's going to be my highest owned today. Coming in second is going to be Bailey Ober. Because Garrett Crochet isn't coming in very highly owned, the pitching isn't very good. I don't care if he only pitches 75, 80 pitches against Seattle. He could strike out 10 in that amount of time. So I do still want him in my pool. He's going to be my least highest owned of the guys in my pool, but I am still playing him in my 5. Tobias Myers, just because he's been pretty good and he's facing Miami. Miami's also been kind of red hot lately, so that is worrisome, but I am getting some Myers as well. And then Joey Cantillo because he's 4K. I don't care. It's the Phillies. He's 4K, and so I'm playing him.
Yeah, I mean, that's the argument, really. It's just that he's 4K. I'm not doing that, and the Phillies are my favorite offense today. But I'm not going to fault anybody for playing a guy that has shown some strikeout upside at basically all the minor league levels. At 4,000, if he gets you that 10 to 12 points, and you get in all the bats you want, I mean, that certainly could end up being optimal today. So I'm going with a very narrow pool as well, with Reagans and Ober as the top 2. And then I think maybe branching out with your bats is a little bit of the approach I am taking tonight. Like Taylor's call on Arrighetti, with how the Dodgers lineup looks today, particularly with no Will Smith in there. It's just it's not the same group that saw 2 months ago when everybody was healthy. You got pretty much 4 big bats out of there today. So, and all the other options, I mean, there's a whole lot of guys that are just not great. You could maybe make an argument for a Reynaldo Lopez or a John Gray or something like that, but just not a slate where I think I'm going to get cute too much with pitching, and then I'll just branch out a little bit with my bats. All right, TJ, what's the YouTube stats looking like?
Let's see here. Hitting a refresh right now. We have 77 likes, so that means we're good for Spidey Bum number 1, and we are very close for Spidey Bum number 2 as well. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I'm just going to keep going to Anthony Santander every single night because he keeps hitting home runs. The Spidey Bombs are hot. We've hit 3 days in a row, and Anthony Santander at 425 is the first Spidey Bomb. Second coming at 100 likes.
Let's go ahead and put our attention to the bats a little bit this afternoon. And this is where, the slate takes a little bit of a turn from what we've seen the last couple of days. We've got, let's see, I'm trying to eyeball here quick, but it looks like maybe around 10 teams with totals of 4.5 runs or higher today. Not the huge Coors Field type of total or anything like
we're
that.
We're back in Robo mode, Cards. I was hoping it was going to fade, but we're back in Robo mode.
All right, take over for a sec.
All right, sounds good. We got, like Phillies, Cards mentioned are his favorite stack today. They are going to be mine too. I'm playing a lot of the 4K pitcher, but I'm still going to get to the Phillies as well against him, very similarly to what I did the other night with Snell. I had Snell as by far my highest owned pitcher, but I just snuck in a little bit of Colorado as well, just in case it went poorly. my top stat, I haven't my set of lineups hasn't been fully built yet, but I love Baltimore, Philly as my kind of tier one. I really, really like Toronto as a sneaky stack today. John Gray has just been terrible, and so I like Toronto a lot. I like getting the Minnesota, the Dodgers, the Astros, the Royals, and then sneaking in a little Miami and Washington too. How about you, Taylor?
Yeah, Cleveland is the one I have the most of on the other side of that Philly game against Colby Allard, who we have not seen in the majors all year, but we've seen him plenty over the years, and he's been a pretty mediocre kind of homer-prone lefty. So the Guardians aren't the most exciting offense, but the top of the order is pretty good. Plenty of power between Ramirez, Fry, Noel. There's no Josh Naylor in there today, which kind of hurts them a little bit, but does make them more affordable. So I think they're a pretty good stack. Even with Crochet, I think Seattle is also playable today. The park upgrade is good for them. Crochet is going to be limited, we assume. Even like he's given up 10 home runs this year, all to righties. I think you can still target some of that righty power against him. And then the White Sox have the worst bullpen in the league behind him. So whenever he does come out, in theory, Seattle can do some damage. So they're on my radar again. Kind of like Texas against Jose Barrios, particularly the lefties, of course, Corey Seager being the headliner there. Like the Royals call, Milwaukee against Kyle Tyler is on my radar too. Pretty good park for power there in Milwaukee. So getting to some Brewers, and then the Orioles, like you said, one of the better looking stacks against Randy Vasquez too.
I'm happy you brought up Cleveland because we have gotten over 100 likes, and Spidey Bomb number 2 is John Kenzie Noel.
I like that call today. All right. I found a setting that was on that was checked to automatically adjust my mic volume. We'll see if that was potentially playing a role. And I have closed out of every single other item I had open except for this and our lineup HQ. So hopefully we don't go into robo mode for a third time. If we do, we'll just keep on.
If it happens, I'm almost ready to take over screen share, and so hopefully that'll make a difference too.
All right, sounds good. Well, we'll go ahead and move into the position by position analysis here, and we'll start at catcher, where it seems like everybody I wanted to play originally today is out of the lineup. There's no Adley Rutschman in the Baltimore lineup today, no Will Smith in the Dodgers lineup today, no Real Muto in the Phillies lineup today. Keibert Ruiz is not in the lineup. Danny Jansen got traded yesterday, so all sorts of catchers that maybe would have been good plays that just simply aren't playing today. So, Taylor, I'll throw this to you first. Or are you looking at catcher today?
Yeah, it's not as strong as it was last night, but I'm still kind of paying up here for the most part. Cal Raleigh, once again, even from the right side against Crochet, looks good to me. Sal Perez is the one I have the most. Kansas City grades out as certainly a top 3 stack on the slate for me. So Perez kind of a core play for them. I'm getting to both Contrerases. They're both expensive, but 2 of the better hitting catchers, of course. Actually have the same amount of both, ironically. So otherwise, there's not a lot to love. I think you can play Mitch Garver if you don't pay for Cal Raleigh, but much prefer Raleigh. Christian Bethancourt is apparently a Cub now, and he's playing today. He's only 2,100. If you want to just fully punt it, even against Reagan's in like a cash style lineup, I think he's fine.
Yeah, the Cubs have rotated around their backup catchers here throughout the year, trying to find somebody that can hit at least, $185. I don't think they've had any luck yet doing that, but we'll see if Betcourt can get there for them. My hopes are not high for them that will happen, but we'll see. It definitely a viable punt if you're going all the way down on DraftKings today. You do have Kirk at 2,600 as well for Toronto. But TJ, what are you looking at catcher today?
Highest owned guy is going to actually be James McCann, but this is basically just the position that I'm playing only in stacks. I really love Sal Perez as a potential one-off, but other than that, literally only in stacks. James McCann, Riley Adams, Travis d'Arnaud, Sal Perez, Garrett Stubbs, Bo Naylor, Austin Barnes, Kirk. That's about it for me today.
Yeah, Yainer Diaz is hitting cleanup for Houston. He's a guy that I think you could consider as well. it's a bummer that we don't have David Fry with catcher eligibility on DK. Would be nice to use him there, but he's still got it on FanDuel, I believe, but it's irrelevant there because you don't need a catcher. So, all right, let's go ahead and move to first base. TJ, what are you looking at first base today?
Shohei Ohtani, my highest owned first baseman, as he is basically every single night. Vladimir Guerrero coming in number 2. Love him for tournaments today. Juan Yepez is a cheapie. I'm getting a lot of Vinny P. Both of the first basemen for Baltimore, Mountcastle and O'Hearn. And then Bryce Harper is a spend up, even in the lefty-lefty. Don't mind that at all. I like him a lot.
Taylor, what are you looking at first base?
Highest owned guy I have here is David Fry in the Guardian stack. I mentioned they're my favorite stack on the slate, so he slots in there pretty nicely. Really good numbers against lefties for him this season. Vladimir Guerrero, decent. Like the Toronto lineup is a shell of what it used to be, but he's kind of come alive a little bit of late. I think he's an interesting spend up. Vinny P in your Royal stack, you can pay down for Josh Bell or Jake Berger. If you want to stack Miami against Myers for a little bit of leverage, assuming Myers is somewhat popular. Don't mind that. I'm playing Bell exclusively here, which means I'm playing Berger exclusively at third, but both are eligible over there if you want.
Yeah, so Yepez will be a guy I think that'll be pretty popular on DraftKings. He's 3,500 there. TJ mentioned him. He's more expensive, relatively speaking, over on FanDuel with how the salary cap works, but on DraftKings, I think he's fine as a value option, like the Fry call as well. I'm big on Cleveland myself. And then, some of those other names you can mention that you mentioned are good individually or as part of your stacks. Pasquantino at about 4% ownership, like that call as well. All right. I have attempted to open up the Discord. Hopefully that doesn't cause any issues on my end, but a couple of things in there from Crazy Coop. He says QQ is Arrighetti viable now with this pretty watered down Dodgers lineup. That might have been even before we discussed it, but definitely agree that he's viable, especially as an SP2 on DraftKings at that salary. It all comes down to the walks with him. So as long as he's not walking people, he's certainly fine. And then Crazy Coop also said, are the Dodgers going with a bullpen game today? It sounds like it. I believe Faedo is going to open TBA on whether they'll let Maeda follow him. And Maeda's been really bad, but he hasn't pitched, I believe, in like 8 days. So you'd think that if Maeda is going to stay on the roster, he probably has to pitch sometime. So we'll see if that's today. That seems to be the thought that most people are going with, but I don't think it's been actually confirmed anywhere. All right, we'll go ahead and move here to second base in just a minute. But before we do that, just a reminder, there's never been a better time to sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. We've got MLB, PGA, MMA, WNBA, option for whatever level you are looking for. Of course, football season starting soon as well. You can get yourself a 6-month combo subscription for an exclusive price of $469.99. That's a savings of $250 over buying 6 individual months of combo premium. You can get your first month for $40 off for a limited time. And if you want a little bit of a test run before you buy, you can dip your toes in the water with a 3-day pass at just $19.99. Check the links in the description for more info. All right, let's go ahead and move to second base here. Taylor, I will stick with you. What are you looking at second today?
There's not a lot to love at second, so it's kind of a pay down position for me. Jorge Polanco still looks underpriced at DK at 3,300. Bryce Terang leading off for Milwaukee, I think is okay against Miami there. If you are paying up, I guess it's Marcus Semien in the Texas stack, but I generally prefer lefties against Barrios. Andres Jimenez as a part of your Cleveland stack is fine. And then I don't think the Padres are a bad, super low-owned stack against Albert Suarez. Jake Cronenworth would be one of the headliners there from the left side. You can play him at first or second. I think I would play him more at second.
All right. Anybody that's got multi-position eligibility, second's probably, if their second is one of their positions, that's probably a good spot to throw them at today. TJ, what do you like at second base?
So I actually do really like the position today. Michael Massey leading off is going to be my favorite player at the position. Gavin Lux batting third today, a nice cheap guy for the Dodgers that I like getting to. Westberg, Horowitz, Simeon, Luis Garcia batting 5th for Washington. Jose Altuve, Edmundo Sosa, even Colt Keith going up against Bailey Ober because he should be about $1,000 more expensive. And then I like the Cronenworth call that Taylor had as well.
Yeah, I like Jordan Westberg a bit today as well. Vasquez is not a great pitcher. You want to prioritize probably lefties against him, but Westberg's got good power splits against right-handed pitching. Second base is pretty weak. We've got him at pretty low projected ownership as well. So I think if you're looking to fill the second base position with maybe a lower owned guy, I like Westberg today too. Or you could always, even though people are going to play Bailey Ober, you can play Colt Keith if you want to. He's just been really taking off for the Tigers here as we start the second half of the season. Had a nice night yesterday as well. All right, TJ, any housekeeping on the YouTube likes, Spidey Bombs before we move to third base?
We are 17 likes away from Spidey Bomb number 3, and I'll tell you what, if we can get up to 150, I will drop 2 Spidey Bombs for the people at that time.
All right, so before we get there, hit that like button so you can help us get there. We'll got a few positions to go. We're probably going to have plenty of time to get through questions today, so start dropping those in the RotoGrinders Discord. Again, live stream chat channel is the place to go for those. rotogrinders.com/Discord. Just have to be a RotoGrinders member, not even a premium subscriber to get access to that. All right, TJ, I'll stick with you. Let's move to third base.
All right, third base today. Jose Ramirez is going to be my highest owned guy. Love him in tournaments. Outside of him, I like going cheap. Kike Hernandez batting 5th. Not going to have to worry about the pinch hit risk with him being a righty batting against a righty. Ernie Clement batting 2nd today for the Blue Jays. I really like. And then the previously mentioned Westberg, Austin Riley, I don't mind as a spend up. Alex Bregman, Josh Smith, and then the Philly guys, Sosa and Bohm.
If I sort by projected ownership here, it looks like we've got Kike Hernandez and Kevin Biggio popping a little bit because they're super cheap, and that Dodgers lineup looks a lot different. But man, with Lux hitting 3rd and Kike hitting 5th and Biggio hitting 6th, like makes me like Arrighetti a little bit more with just how different that Dodgers lineup looks these days. Taylor, what do you like at 3rd?
Yeah, I think TJ ran it down pretty well. Ramirez is the top guy for me by a lot. After that, paying down, Berger, I mentioned, is cheap still. Ernie Clement hitting 2nd for Toronto. Josh Smith hitting high, probably 3rd or so for the Rangers is good. We haven't talked about the Braves a ton. TJ did mention Austin Riley here against David Peterson. I think that's a pretty good low-owned kind of upside play there that Ramirez is going to be the chalk, I think, which means Machado, Riley, Morel, obviously, guys like that are just going to be unowned. So if you want to get a little different, there are a lot of ways to do it. I think Joey Ortiz is okay as a value. And then Patrick Wisdom, I think he's hitting 2nd for Chicago against Reagans. If you want to just take a flyer on a cheap guy with some power, I think he's okay in a kind of large field tournament today.
Yeah, he homered last night as well. It's basically a home run or bust for him, it seems like. But that batting order spot is pretty good today, and he is pretty cheap. I lost him here. What is he? 3.4 under FKings, I think. 3.6 under FKings. I think he's 2,500 on FanDuel. So either way, pretty cheap no matter what site you are looking. If you're going to get some Patrick Wisdom exposure today, good leverage off of the chalky Reagans. Like Jose Miranda for Minnesota. Again, I think Minnesota would gain a lot more steam if we knew that Maeda was pitching in bulk today. We don't really know that, so still kind of a bit of a guessing game as to how the Tigers are going to operate their pitching staff today. All right, let's go ahead and move to shortstop. Taylor, I'll stay with you. What are you looking at shortstop-wise?
Yeah, it's pretty loaded as always. The guys I'm getting to the most are Corey Seager, Bobby Witt, and Gunnar Henderson. Trey Turner, I assume, will be pretty popular as well if the Phillies are, but super expensive. But he does have the platoon edge against the lefty for Cleveland, so I don't mind that. CJ Abrams, too, kind of as a one-off. He's expensive, and I don't think Washington's going to get a lot of steam today either. And he's maybe not as good as Witt, Seager, and those guys, but he's not far behind. So I don't mind that in a tournament. Willie Adama, as I mentioned, the Brewers, I like them a good amount today. A little bit cheaper than the top tier, so he's an interesting kind of mid-range option. And after that, it kind of thins out. Like PK, you can play at short if you're playing Biggio at third, for example. Xavier Edwards if you're doing the Miami thing, but not as high on them today as I was yesterday.
All right, TJ, what do you like at shortstop today?
We hit 150 likes, so I added 2 more Spidey Bombs scrolling at the bottom of the screen, and one of them is here at shortstop. It's Corey Seager plus 400 going against Barrios, who struggles against lefties. But shortstop, really strong position today. I got a lot of Seager, Turner, Abrams, and Bobby Witt, about 15% of each of them. I do have some Henderson, but he's probably the Oriole that I'm lowest on today just because he's been struggling. If I need to go cheap, I am using some Kike Hernandez, but this is mostly a position I want to spend up at, and I'm doing it with Seager, Turner, Abrams, and Witt.
Yeah, tough to stomach going cheap at this position most days with how strong it is. Like the Abrams call, really the Nats. I think the Nats could be potentially considered as a sneakier stack today. Michaelis has looked a little bit more shaky lately. Washington scored 24 runs the first 2 games of this series. Brandon Crawford had to pitch the 9th inning for the Cardinals last night, so their bullpen's in a tough spot at the moment. Abrams is obviously your leading guy, but then Yepes is pretty cheap on DraftKings as well. You got a potential punt catcher there today in Washington, so I don't mind the Nats as a sneakier offense. And Abrams always tends to go a little bit under-owned at short simply because when you've got a slate that has Seager and Witt and Henderson, they tend to get a little bit more attention, and that's probably going to be the case today as well. All right, outfield, and then we've got plenty of time for questions. So it's quiet today, quiet in both chats. So get some questions in, whether it's in the RotoGrinders Discord, again, the live stream chat channel, or in the YouTube. We got plenty of people watching. So we've still got 17 minutes until lock. We've rolled through this fairly quickly today. So we'll have plenty of time for questions once we get through outfield here. Just because Roth isn't here on the weekends and we've got time, quick update on weather. Really the only issue with the main slate is in Chicago. Broken line of showers and storms moving through the Chicago area during the game. Chance of a delay if a heavier batch ends up all over the ballpark, but could potentially be no delay at all. That doesn't seem to affect bats. Seems like they're going to play the game regardless, but if you are on Bryce Miller or if you're on Garrett Crochet, just keep an eye on that weather in Chicago. That game doesn't start yet for another hour. So if anything else comes of that, I'll monitor it, but probably not going to get too much else for updates before the end of the show. All right. Outfield, TJ, what do you got there today?
Shohei Ohtani, number 1 most owned player here, followed by the Baltimore guys, Anthony Santander, Spidey Bomb, and Colton Cowser batting leadoff today. Adam Duvall, speaking of guys batting leadoff, is another guy I want to get to a lot of. John Kenzie Noel, another Spidey Bomb. Nick Castellanos, another Spidey Bomb. So that crew is my highest owned group of outfielders today. Following them, Yordan Alvarez, Jason Hayward batting cleanup, Dalton Varsho batting 5th, Cedric Mullins, Matt Wallner batting 3rd, and Marcell Ozuna.
All right, Taylor, what do you like in the outfield today?
My highest outfielder right now is Angel Martinez, which is not exciting or what you want, but I'm playing a lot of Cleveland and he's hitting 2nd, so I guess that's a reason for that. I like the Orioles call with Santander and Cowser particularly. I've mentioned Seattle at a number of positions. They have Victor Robles and Randy Arozarena hitting 1st and 2nd. I'm not sure what's gotten into Victor Robles, but it seems like he's been quite a bit better since he arrived in Seattle. So decent speed upside with him. Like the Duvall call, Texas is on my radar. So Adolis Garcia and Wyatt Langford hitting in the heart of their lineup look pretty interesting. Ohtani, of course, Teoscar Hernandez, one of the few good Dodgers also in the lineup today. And I guess that's about it. Garrett Mitchell is cheap, sub 3K. So if you're stacking Milwaukee, he's pretty easy to get to for them.
All right, that takes us through Outfield, so we can certainly get into the questions. I don't think I have too much to add there. I was kind of looking through the chats here while you guys were talking, so apologies if I double up any of these guys. But the newly acquired Philly, Austin Hayes, is hitting 6th today. He's only 3K on DraftKings, so I don't mind him. Cowser, now that he's leading off for Baltimore, I think these are interesting guys that you could look at in the middle tier. I know TJ mentioned Santander as a Spidey bomb, so lots of guys in that middle tier, I think, that will go just a little bit overlooked today. All right, 14 minutes until lock. Make sure you hit that like button. We'll go ahead and get into the questions here. Let's see. RC player, any interest in the Baltimore San Diego game stack? So obviously the game stack element of that is a little irrelevant, but I like to do that as well, just to give me a game to watch or a game to follow. My favorite, if you're wanting to stack both sides today, would be Cleveland and Philly. But any interest in Baltimore and San Diego, TJ?
So Baltimore is my highest owned stack, and San Diego is in my pool, but the lowest owned stack of teams in my pool. So I have a total of 5 San Diego stacks and 21 Baltimore stacks. I like one side a lot. The other side is fine, but I don't love.
Sherman's Tanks is asking for our favorite pitcher in FanDuel Cash, which will probably be Reagans, I think, for most people. Taylor, you like Reagans as a cash pitcher on FanDuel today?
Yeah, the gap between him and Ober is not as significant in terms of salary, so I think you just pay up for Reagans and forget about it.
All right, JT Money with his usual question. I'll let you both answer this. 3 FanDuel lineups, wants to use 3 different pitchers, and then also your favorite single entry stack on FanDuel today. So, Taylor, you got 3 different pitchers to use in 3 FanDuel lineups and 1 stack. Who you got?
Reagan certainly is one of them. I think you can pay down for Tobias Myers if you want to pay for a few more bats in another lineup. And my third, I guess, would be Ober, just because he's facing Detroit and it's a perfectly fine spot. As far as a stack, if you're reading a chalk pitcher like Reagan's, maybe it's like Seattle to go off the board. Texas is also one that I kind of like that's not going to be super popular.
All right, TJ, any takes on 3 different FanDuel pitchers and 1 stack?
I would do Reagan's, Myers, and Crochet as my 3 on FanDuel. And then for stacks with Reagan's, I would probably go Toronto because they're coming in very low owned and they're also nice and cheap. Baltimore would be one of my stacks. I'd probably make sure for them I'd have Santander, have Cowser, and then outside of that, it doesn't really matter to me. And then third would probably be probably try to get a Philly stack for my third one with Tobias Myers. Do that.
Yeah, Philly is my favorite stack, so I saw we had some people asking for favorite stack in YouTube as well. Philly is my number 1 stack today. Baltimore is number 2. Cleveland is number 3. If we're just ranking stacks, and so somebody asked Orioles or Royals, that's Allen for DK single entry. That would be the Orioles for me. The Royals, their team total being so high kind of shocks me a little bit. Like Assad has struggled with his command, but he's not really a gas can. So I think the Royals are okay, but they're not at the top of my list today. All right, Graybill 720 QQ, Detroit or Washington stack in a DK GPP. Taylor, any preference on Detroit or Washington if you're going off the board today?
I think I would lean Washington. I just think it's a better offense, and I think the matchup, like you said, it's Michaelis is exploitable, so I'd lean Nationals on that one.
All right, yes, Flores 1, 2, 3, 4. FanDuel Cash, Biggio or Outman in cash on FanDuel. TJ,
Neither, but Biggio.
I would agree. All right, we just talked about stacks a little bit, so that takes care of JMVP's question there. Ober or Myers in a DK GPP, Taylor?
I think Ober is going to be more popular, so if the rest of your build is pretty chalky, then Tobias.
And I think TJ, you mentioned you liked Myers as well, right?
Yeah, just he's the one cheap guy on FanDuel I'd be comfortable going to.
NBA DFS, O'Hearn or Abrams, last piece, FanDuel cash. Taylor, who you like there?
Abrams, I think, if you have the money, he's going to grade out pretty well.
For sure. All right, let's see. Okay, DK cash. This is BJ Adam. He's playing Hernandez, who has multi-position eligibility, which allows him to either shift him to short and get Ramirez at third, or shift him to third and get Seager or short at short. So the question becomes Jose Ramirez or Corey Seager in cash, TJ.
Jose Ramirez.
Let's see. FanDuel single entry, Hayes or Harold Ramirez. I really like Hayes today. I tagged him on Lineup HQ. I think Hayes is a really good tournament choice today. Doesn't break the bank. All right. D-Dot is asking if Crochet is safe for a FanDuel single entry. So this is going to depend on your risk tolerance, right? Safe is not
safe.
Safe is not the word. So if you're looking for safe, Garrett Crochet is not in the conversation.
I would say, though, he has the highest ceiling on the slate, just in case they decide to feature him and not limit him. They're facing the highest strikeout lineup in the league. Like, if they decide to let him go 90 pitches, he could be the highest scorer on the slate by far.
Yeah, so they have no individualized incentive to let him go out there and throw 100 pitches today or 90 pitches. And, they've been cutting him off in the 70s and 80s a little bit. His last start before the All-Star break, they only let him throw a couple innings. So you just never know. If you've got a really high risk tolerance, then he's certainly fine for a tournament build. But if safe is what you're seeking, he's not definitely not it. All right. Somebody asking about Spidey bombs. You can check that. They're scrolling along the bottom of the screen, so you can get those down there.
13 likes away from the next one.
All right. Let's see. Favorite two pitchers for DK Cash. So I'll let you both answer that. We got time. TJ,
it's got to be Ober and Reagan's. Like, it's kind of one of those days where you don't have a choice. You're playing those two in cash.
Yeah, that seems to be the build. All right. Favorite Philly hitters from Day. So, Taylor, who you like on Philly bats today?
I think the Austin Hayes call is a good one because he's cheap. Otherwise, Trey Turner is a standout against the lefty. Harper and Schwarber might be lower owned as a result of lefty-lefty, so can't go wrong with them either, of course.
Yeah, and they actually have the highest weighted on base averages on the team against lefties this year. So, people tend to avoid Harper and Schwarber in lefty-lefty matchups, but they've been solid against lefties this year. Bryant is asking any interest in a Baltimore stack. Definitely. All right, we got a 2v2 here. FanDuel cash. Taylor, I'll throw this one to you, and then I'll throw the next one to TJ. FanDuel cash. Noel and Hayes or Biggio and Massey?
Noel Hayes for me.
I agree with that. Beener has 2,600 left for a utility spot on FanDuel. And TJ, if you don't have FanDuel up, I can peek at that.
Yeah, that's all you, if you don't mind. I'm answering the I'm answering on YouTube right now in chat. Our favorite third baseman 4,200 or under, which would be Arenado. And then right now I'm looking at third baseman or first baseman for DraftKings cash 43 or under. And I'm thinking the answer to that one is probably Ryan Mountcastle.
Yeah, 2,600 or less on FanDuel. Austin Hayes fits that. He's 25. John Kenzie Noel is 25.
Oh, definitely that one.
Michael Massey is 26.
Also 26.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Those are beautiful.
So, if you don't have any of those three guys, there's a few options there. All right, TJ, here's one. New Generation 82. DK GPP. Would you mind pairing Ober with Myers to save extra salary for bats?
Yep, no problem with that at all.
All right, Gregorius the Wise wants to know if anybody has any prop plays. I do not bet a ton of props in baseball. Obviously, we've got TJ's Spidey Bombs if you want some home run picks rolling across the screen. But Taylor, anybody you like to hit a home run or do some damage today? Give you that opportunity to throw something out there if you like.
Let's see. Just kind of looking through. I'm not sure what Patrick Wisdom's odds of hitting a home run are, but maybe a flyer on that if you feeling frisky.
Yeah, I think let's see. Let me pull up. It was like he's plus about 400, I think, now, if you're looking for the best odds out there. All right. I like this one in the YouTube chat from Ian. So going cheap at starting pitcher. Taylor, I'll throw this one to you as well. Arrighetti and Michaelis or Ober and Cantillo?
Definitely Ober and Cantillo, mainly because I don't want to play Miles Michaelis at all.
Understandable. And somebody asked Arrighetti or Peterson for SP2. I think Arrighetti's the choice there. I mean, just look at that Dodgers lineup. It's pretty weak. Who's the top pitcher on DK? That seems to be generally established as Reagan's being the guy.
I think on DK, I'd actually give the slight edge to Ober just because he's so much cheaper. And then on FanDuel, I'd give that edge to Reagan's because the gap isn't as big.
Lots of people asking about Peterson for the Mets, and we do have somebody asking about Atlanta bats. Anybody have a strong take on either the Atlanta bats or Peterson?
I would rather play the Atlanta bats than Peterson, but it is a really good strikeout matchup. So it's like, I don't think Peterson is going to be successful at all, but there's a chance he could luck into it just because it's everybody outside, like everybody in that Atlanta lineup strikes out.
It's also really weak at the bottom. Like 6 through 9 is brutal for them. So I don't hate Peterson. He's cheap, and I don't think he's going to be super popular either. So I think I'd lean his way, personally.
We hit 180 likes, so I dropped the 5th Spidey Bomb. The people say in chat they love Spidey Bombs. Spidey Bombs were good yesterday. Yeah, they've been hot lately, so let's keep it going. The 5th one is at plus 550. Dalton Varsho. You want one more? You want a 6th one? Let's get up to 200 likes. If we can get 200 likes, I'll drop a 6th one. And DePrince in chat asking Noel or Wisdom last man in. That's got to be our guy, John Kenzie Noel.
Yeah, we all like Noel today. I like the Guardians a good bit, so I like that call myself. All right, let's see. Down to about 2 minutes left until lock. I see a couple people typing in the Discord chat. Get your questions in here quickly. We can maybe try to sneak one or two of those in. Somebody says, why no love for Michaelis? Washington stinks. Washington has scored 24 runs in the last 2 games against the Cardinals, so the Cardinals aren't very good either.
You know who else stinks is Miles Michaelis.
He's just doesn't strike a lot of guys out. Decent enough pitcher in general, but it's the BABIP luck is what he's dependent on. So Washington offenses, after they got no hit by Cease, they've taken it out on my Cardinals a little bit here the last couple days. So definitely not gonna use Michaelis against them today.
I just saw James Wood has a 48% strikeout rate against righties. Obviously a small sample, but that's interesting. If there's anyone that's going to strike out against Miles Michaelis, I guess it's him.
We'll set the over under. If Michaelis can strike him out twice, it's not a good sign for James Wood. A pretty good matchup for James Wood, really.
I'm not going to tell you the sample size, but did you see Nacho Alvarez's strikeout rate against left-handed pitching this season?
Is it 100?
Yeah, 100%. two at bats.
Tough sledding.
I tried the dad joke on my son this morning, by the way, because he always comes up with the what do you call cheese that's not yours, and then says nacho cheese and thinks it's really funny. And so I tried it with Alvarez this morning with Nacho Alvarez, and he did not get it at all. So dad joke went out this morning. All right. With that, we are at lock, and thanks to everybody. It was quiet in the chat for a while, but then once we asked for the questions, everybody picked it up and kept us rolling here through lock. So it doesn't seem like any major weather concerns. Again, if you're playing starting pitchers in Chicago, keep an eye on that. That game starts in about 40 minutes. So with that, we'll call it a day. Thanks to Taylor. Thanks to TJ for joining me. Thanks to TJ as well for producing behind the scenes, double duty on Sundays. And we hope you all enjoy the rest of your weekend. So thanks for joining us. As always, have a great day, everybody. I'm Justin, and we'll catch you later.